So, hi everyone here and online. My name is Kenzen, and I'm a senior student here. Feels very sweet in the Zendo here tonight, like a sweet little gathering when the night is cold out, and it's really good to see some people I don't know here, people I do know well, and the same online, some friends I haven't seen in person in a long time, and some people I don't know as well. It's been quite a while since I've given a Dharma talk. I'm a pretty talky person, and I remember when I became a senior student and I was finally sort of authorized to pontificate as much as I wanted. I was so excited, and I gave lots of talks, and I had a lot to say, and maybe it even felt like I knew a lot. I don't know. But I've been having a very quiet time, and it feels like it just gets quieter and quieter. And so even though I'm going to say words tonight, I think I want to invite you into that feeling of quietness that I've been having. I think it started for me in March. So as some of you know, in March I ordained as a novice priest. And I thought I knew what I was doing. I thought I understood it, kind of. I had long had just a strong impulse to do this thing, to become a priest. And it felt the same as my impulse to do Zen at all. And the same as all my other impulses here. Just there's something beyond explanation that I felt that pulled me into this. I remember the very first winter retreat I went on. At that time, I had been coming at night to the Zendo. And so there were many different chants and different things I had never heard. And one of them was the verse of the Kesa that I now chant regularly in the morning because I come in the mornings. But after a few periods of sitting in the morning, and you can imagine me there. I'm there so eager, so determined, so scared, so much in physical pain and disorientation on my first day. We've been waking up very early. I hate waking up early. And we're sitting there in the dark, and it's beautiful and serious and completely new to me, the whole experience. And then out of nowhere, it seems, comes the verse of the Kesa. And it goes, "Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata teachings," that means the Buddha's teachings, "saving all sentient beings." And even though I didn't really understand it in its particulars, it completely moved me. Maybe I was in that kind of vulnerable, open state, and I could almost see the vast robe unfurling infinitely, and I found it to be comforting, consoling. And somehow that chant, and we chanted it every morning too, somehow that chant felt both consoling and like it offered some kind of promise, something I couldn't know very much about, but I could feel. And gradually, as I came to understand what is that robe in a physical, just ordinary material sense, well, it turns out to be this robe that I'm wearing here, and that some people wear. It's also takes the form of the rakusu, which in this room, Bokushu is wearing one, but you can't see it really on the screen. But I can see some rakusus on the screen as well. So all of those are Buddha robes, and maybe all of us can be wearing a Buddha robe even without a material robe. And I just became deeply curious about what was this robe that was both material and immaterial at the same time. And I remember when I took Jukai, which is receiving the Buddhist precepts, when you do that, you sew the smaller robe, the rakusu. So I sewed a rakusu, sewed a robe, with several other people who were in my group, and then we all met for a week on retreat and studied what the precepts were. And the precepts, if you're not familiar with them, I think are commonly thought of as the ethical teachings of Buddhism. But I think of them now as raising an awareness of our interrelationship with each other. So when you receive the precepts or you make these vows, you're making a commitment to hold in your heart and in your mind and in your being an awareness of other people and your relation to them and their relation to you. So during that study, I had a chance to ask some questions, and Enkyo Roshi was leading our group. So I said, Enkyo Roshi, I think maybe I'm going to want to be a priest. And Roshi laughed. And she kind of did a whoa, Nelly. She was like, okay, well, I asked students to study for about 10 years and then come back and see if that's still, what you want to do. Well, then we'll see. And so I did that. I waited the 10 years, and I was like, 10 years? And so I had to ask a couple of times, but until, I guess she thought I really meant it. And then she gave me permission to start the process, which meant sewing another robe. So I spent about 9 months sewing this object, and studying with Shinryu Roshi, along with Jinno, who was ordaining at the same time. So the two of us sewed together and studied together with Shinryu, and we read about the history of this role and the history of the vows, going back to the time of the Buddha, through China, through Japan, through the way it's understood in the contemporary United States. All this took about 9 months. And so when the day came around, I had expected that I would have some understanding of what I was doing. And when the day dawned and I still did not have that understanding, that conceptual understanding at least, I thought, well, once I go through the ceremony, that will do it. And the ceremony was very, very moving. It felt big and mysterious. And afterwards, my friends would ask me, so what is this priest thing? And I would try to speak to them. I would try to answer. I could find words, but the words did not reach either them. They really did not understand what I had done, or my own experience. Priests don't do anything different than lay people in our Sangha. It's exactly the same. I'd already taken these vows during Jukai. They're exactly the same vows. So I'm doing exactly the same things, and I've made exactly the same commitments. And yet, it's somehow different. And that difference is also real. So I'm still trying to understand. And I think that's why I've gotten so quiet. And I think I've been quiet for, a few months, and I think I'm going to be quiet, despite this, a while longer, maybe quite a while. When you ordain, you become a novice. So I'm a novice, which feels right. And the Japanese word for a newly ordained priest is unsui, or clouds and water. So there's a kind of acknowledgement that you're in a state of formlessness or malleability that you could become, you could precipitate, but you haven't yet. And maybe that is something of the flavor of this not knowing. So we have a lot of koans and other things that help us with the state of not knowing. Fusho Sensei gave a really nice talk about one of the ones that is commonly touched on in our Sangha. But I thought I would talk about another one, which is, really one of our most familiar and kind of homey koans. And it concerns a monk who's just entered the monastery. So this person has just become a novice. So the monk has just entered the monastery, and he gets to have his first meeting with a teacher. And his teacher is Joshu, who's one of the really great, brilliant, beautiful minds in our tradition. And the monk says to Joshu, "I've just entered the monastery. Can you give me some instruction?" And Joshu says, "Have you had your breakfast?" And the monk says, "Yes." And Joshu says, "Then wash your bowls." And with that, he kind of cuts through all of the ideas the monk was having about what this entering the monastery business was going to be like. And I imagine that monk as very taken up with the great matter of life and death, and with what is this really all about, and will I awaken? Will I reach some kind of enlightenment? Will I get something? Will I become something? And by pointing to just this extremely simple, ordinary next task, Joshu just took all of that away, just pulled that rug out from under the monk. And in the story, the monk has, at least in that moment, a kind of insight that those ideas are not the thing. And maybe that throws the monk into a state of not knowing what it is. And this, bowl is incredibly simple, material, ordinary, regular. Washing the bowl is incredibly simple, material, ordinary, regular. It's just doing the next thing, one thing after the next. But also, in a different way, I think Joshu is pointing to the fact that all of that longing for the connection with the infinite that the monk is also feeling is also present in this simple, ordinary bowl. Like the way that the Heart Sutra puts it is form is emptiness and emptiness is form. So this particular material, real, present, intimate, like mine is cold. I can feel the cold of it. I can feel the smoothness of it. This intimate object also, in some sense, requires the whole universe in order to exist. And it is the result of an unimaginable number of causes and conditions that go back to, tens of thousands of years ago when somebody used a hollow shape to hold some nuts, or hold some food, or hold some water. And this bowl itself, this individual bowl, there were the geological forces that created the clay in the earth. There were the people who found and dug out the clay and brought it into the kind of commercial system that we're in, where it was bought by, as it happens, we can know, Miyoko Roshi, who made this bowl. So she's a potter and an important member of our Sangha. And there's everything that she did to make the bowl: put it on the wheel, fire it, glaze it, carry it here, and all of the training that she went through in learning about the specific forms of the bowl. So in this bowl are also all the bowls that were discarded as not having the right kind of intimate form. So this bowl is plenty infinite. But right now, for me personally, I'm feeling a need for the aspect of it which is just very simple and very regular. So the instruction, wash your bowls. I actually eat out of a lot of bowls at home. I'm a bowl kind of eater. So I wash bowls several times a day, every day. I'm in my quiet feeling, just trying to do the things that are in front of me by taking care of that bowl, by taking care of the people in my life, by teaching a class or coming to the Zendo or giving this talk. Bowl, bowl, bowl. I'm just doing one thing and the next, and I guess maybe letting those things work on me. So I want to close with a poem by Jane Hirschfield called The Bowl. If meat is put into the bowl, meat is eaten. If rice is put into the bowl, it may be cooked. If a shoe is put into the bowl, the leather is chewed and chewed over, a sentence that cannot be taken in or forgotten. A day, if a day could feel, must feel like a bowl. Wars, loves, trucks, betrayals, kindness, it eats them. Then the next day comes, spotless and hungry. The bowl cannot be thrown away. It cannot be broken. It is calm, uneclipsable, rindless, and, big though it seems, fits exactly in 2 human hands. Hands with 10 fingers, 54 bones, capacities strange to us, almost past measure. Scented, as the curve of the bowl is, with cardamom, star anise, long pepper, cinnamon, hyssop. I want to eat that meal that she's talking about. Maybe we can all eat it right now.